Hi, I'm Anne with Maternity Wise, and I'm here with Rachel West. She is going to why don't you introduce yourself? We're just doing some like intros on the blog these days of everyone that's behind the scenes at Maternity Wise. So if you don't mind, tell us who you are and what you do.
All right. Well, thanks for having me. My name is Rachel West. I am a certified labor doula, postpartum doula, Lamaze certified childbirth educator, and certified hypnobirthing instructor. And for Maternity Wise, I manage the Facebook group, and that's a really cool place to go for peer sharing, peer learning, social support. We're super active on there, and there's just a lovely community that we've built.
It's awesome. And, you know, I think it's important too that, we mentoring is a really important part of our training with Maternity Wise, and we want everyone to feel like they have a lot of layers of support. And the Facebook group is one of those layers. So when you are a student with Maternity Wise, you'll definitely be interacting with trainers on the Facebook group, but for sure, you'll see Rachel because she's always catching all the questions and everything that shows up on there. So for our first question that I have for you, what is your first most favorite thing about, or what do you think is the best benefit of what you do for Maternity Wise?
I just think that social support is so key. As you mentioned, like there are layers of support that you receive while you're a student through Maternity Wise, but that peer sharing and peer learning, I feel like is just so valuable. And it if you think about like the adult learning theory, adults learn best from their peers, right? Like we when we remove some of those asymmetrical power dynamics, we're really able to take what our peers are saying, what they're experiencing, and apply that in our life and in our practices. And so it's so nice and so valuable to really create a space for that, for someone to say, hey, I'm getting ready to attend my first birth, here are the details, here's what I know. And then for everybody else to come in and say, hey, like I experienced this too, or here's what was really helpful for me, or you might ask these questions, right? And so it just feels like you really have a team behind you who is facilitating your learning experience and your doula practice.
Yeah, I love that. And I know for me, I'm really a story oriented learner. So I love a lot of times we'll even, when someone's at a birth, or I might even post, or some of the other trainers might post while we're at a birth, kind of the play by play of like what's going on. Just because it's easier to learn like in the moment, like this is what's happening. Okay, mom is this many centimeters dilated. We've tried this, and baby's in this position, and getting feedback even in the moment,
right?
Or giving feedback in the moment. Sometimes it's fun to just, I know as a student, it can be fun for people to be able to research and give feedback that way too. And like you said, taking away that power dynamic of, who's the most knowledgeable in the room or whatever. I'll be honest, every birth I go to is different,
right?
And I'm learning new things at every birth I go to, and I've been doing this for almost 30 years, so it's fun to see everyone learning alongside of each other too, because it is really a journey where we're all supporting one another. I love it. How else are you involved in the birthing world? Because there's a lot of things that you do. You just mentioned a bunch in your intro, but tell us more.
So when I first became a doula, like almost 8 years ago, I was practicing mostly as a labor and postpartum doula. And that was a beautiful foundation for me to develop my passion for education, and that's really what I love doing. And so I'll teach Lamaze childbirth preparation classes, hypnobirthing, so hypnosis for pregnancy, labor, and delivery classes, of course, newborn care, breastfeeding, chest feeding classes. And so just utilizing that skill set in many different places, whether it's a hospital setting, home setting, or out of hospital group childbirth preparation classes. Some other little trades that I have, I do Bengkung belly binding, and so that's an ancient like Malaysian practice of wrapping the womb space postnatally. Yeah, it's so beautiful and such an ancient age-old practice that really helps to support both the physical and emotional and mental wellness of a postpartum individual. So very grateful to have learned that. And really sort of switching gears now and looking at, or rather starting my certification to become a fertility doula. And so I'm really excited to step into that and just enhance my offerings, enhance my ability to support the community. And so much of my time has been focused on labor, delivery, and postpartum, and so leaning more into that preconception support and healthcare is something that's really exciting for me right now.
Awesome. I know that taking, doula work and doula knowledge into other jobs and other sectors and other industries is really important to you. Can you share more about how to do that?
Yes. So when I started becoming a doula, I was in my undergraduate and I was focused on health and education. And so, but I had this burning passion for, supporting childbearing families. And so it was really, it took a lot of thoughtfulness for me to say, like, how can I marry, these worlds, right? Of education and healthcare into, supporting childbearing families. And so, fast forward post master's degree, I've been working on a group prenatal care initiative through both the March of Dimes and Centering Healthcare Institute. And so it's been like, my doula education has been just the foundation of all of this experience and knowledge and wisdom that I'm now able to take into the nonprofit sector and actually transform healthcare experiences on a more macro level. So, doula work, yes, we're making a huge difference, but a lot of times we see it as being more micro, right? Like you're directly supporting, one family, right? I mean, in your practice, you support many families and you're changing the narrative around childbirth, you're shifting healthcare experiences, right? So there are some macro benefits there, but what I'm able to do now is really start to look at like systems change and how we can transform healthcare experiences as a whole. And again, my doula work just is the foundation of it all.
And do you find that, as we work with each family, they are changing their dialogue about birth
Exactly.
with those that they communicate with in their families and their communities, with their children who then go on to give birth.
Right.
That's important, obviously, the cultural change that can be made. But also, do you feel like there are racial or even socioeconomic barriers that we can be breaking down or crossing, or, there's obvious roles that plays in maternal mortality and infant mortality. And I love what you're doing as far as like the centering groups. And I know that changing systems and stuff is super important. Do you see that just from a racial standpoint? Do you see that being a way to impact,
Absolutely.
racial disparities?
Absolutely. I will say like, social drivers of health and social determinants of health are really impacting people's health and wellness, right? Like what is influencing their ability to consume healthcare, right? And to, attend prenatal visits, to advocate for themselves in labor and delivery, what's impacting their basic health and wellness, right? And so obviously doula care is, very important at helping to address these social drivers of health. And then again, like group healthcare and these systems changes that we're doing, we're giving individuals more time with their healthcare providers and more agency, right? Or helping them to realize their own agency and communicating their needs and seeking resources to address some of these social drivers of health, et cetera. So it's very important work. for that. And there's so much to be done.
Yeah, I agree. I love what you're doing. Thank you so much for taking a few minutes today to share that with us. And we just love that you're behind the scenes with us. And we love your heart, Rachel.
Thank you. I'm very grateful to be here. And, I'm grateful to have been a student of Maternity Wise and to be able to now, be helping other students and supporting the collective learning. It's a true honor.
Well, we are honored and blessed to know you and to have you on our side. And I'm blessed to know you personally and love you to pieces.
Love you.
All right. Well, thank you so much. And that concludes this blog post, but check us back in the next couple of days for a few more different behind the scenes interviews with other people who are impacting the Maternity Wise curriculum and the way that we teach and the way that we support our students.